What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another episode of Lions Latest, going through the latest Detroit Lions news. And today, we have a re-signing that was announced. The Detroit Lions have announced they are re-signing tight end Shane Zylstra. So let's get it started. Welcome, everybody, to a video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we're back with some Lions news. And this is some exciting news that when I saw the Lions post this, I was like, this makes a ton of sense. I'm glad they did this. Now, today we were live over on Bleacher Report today for a 30-minute show. Feel free to go check that out. It was kind of like a 1.0 of a mock offseason. It's kind of like a behind the scenes in a way. Though my first mock offseason that I'm going to post hopefully here pretty soon may not be the exact same. We talked about some of the biggest decisions the Lions have to make with their upcoming free agents. Josh Reynolds, Jonah Jackson, Graham Glasgow made decisions there, as well as out-of-house free agent signings, and we kind of rolled through it. It was a fun episode. We knocked out a lot of things, so feel free to go check that out if you want some free agency content. However, today we got some Lions news, and actually I think I mentioned it in that episode, like really briefly, that of the exclusive rights free agent, one of the guys that I would absolutely bring back is Shane Zylstra, and apparently the Lions did that. Now, it was announced as the Lions re-signing Shane Zylstra, not as necessarily as an exclusive rights free agent deal, which would mean that the Lions would get it as low as the CBA allows that deal to be, as well as there would be no guarantees to the contract, so it would be very similar to like a futures contract, especially once you get to kind of the top 51 rule in place, where he may not even count towards the top 51 if you exercise the fact that he is an exclusive rights free agent. I don't know if the Lions did that or not. According to Over the Cap, it looks like they may have, because there's seemingly no guarantees to a deal. It seems to be 1 year, but maybe that's not the case. We just don't really have the details seemingly of the contract right now. Maybe the Lions did make it more than 1 year. Maybe they had some incentives within his contract or some bonuses. I'm not exactly sure what the benefit would be there outside of just making it multiple years, but who knows? If it's the exclusive rights free agent deal, it makes a ton of sense because, again, there's really no risk to it for the team other than him holding a 90-man roster spot during the offseason. Outside of that, it makes a ton of sense, and he was someone that I was like, definitely bring this guy back, because it was so unfortunate to see Shane Zylstra get injured before the season took place. So if you're asking why he's an exclusive rights free agent, he's had 2 accrued seasons with the Detroit Lions. 2023 he did not, because he was not there for 6 games this past season, and that was because of the injury that took place in training camp, which placed him on IR, and he was out for the season, which in a way it gave us an opportunity to see other guys. Obviously Sam Laporta was awesome. We got to see some James Mitchell at times this past year because of other injuries as well. I thought he rose to the occasion, and then of course you always have Brock Wright in that mix. But the unfortunate thing was the stretch that we saw him put together at the end of 2022 and the chemistry that seemed to be building between him and Jared Goff. And you could see it in some of the offseason activities, some of the offseason programs, when you got to see these two guys kind of working together. It was like, these guys are in a flow. They would run as a team offense. And at that 2022 season, between week 13 through week 17, he popped with the Lions. He had 10 receptions on 11 targets with the Lions. On the season, he had 11 receptions on 15 targets for 60 yards and 5 touchdowns. So majority of his production came in that little stretch toward the end of the season in 2022. So it led to real excitement, especially after that Carolina Panthers game where we lost, and it was an awful loss to take at that point in time trying to make the playoffs. However, he played really well, and we got to see a lot of the utilization in the red zone of Shane Zylstra, and I was like, oh, okay, there's a role here. You also got to see the utilization as a move blocker, a player that you could move around, get into space, put him at slot, line him wide, put him in line as well, which is especially something that he did in the red zone where he could become kind of a matchup piece for us. We saw real value there. And then there was also the special teams value, where in 2022 played 100 special team snaps, whether that was playing on the kick return team, punt return, field goal block. We got to see him on the punt team as a wing. You also got to see him again on kick return. At times you'd see him kind of line up in sort of that, fullback type of role. The Lions, so he had a real value on special teams as well. Now, he doesn't bring the same exact body type as a lot of our other tight ends at 6'4", 240, a little bit on the lighter side, which is why his role was so valuable, because he gave you something a little bit different than James Mitchell in terms of maybe not necessarily that he's faster than James Mitchell, but he gives you some of that straight line speed, some acceleration. He also, as a route runner, brings some real lean, some bend as a route runner as well. I don't think he's the most route savvy necessarily, but he brought some good eye discipline as a route runner. In terms of as a pass catcher, it was the body control that stood out, the ability to adjust his body, utilize some of the speed routes as well, kind of like what we see with Sam Laporta to a whole nother level this past season. As a hands catcher, sometimes he can be trapping it a little bit on his body, he can get through his hands a little bit there, but he was useful in some of the red zone, but also some of the dig routes. You can see some of the middle field usage that we had specifically in 2022. Obviously, Goff loves to throw those routes, and he was effective there. Again, I didn't think he brought a ton of like route creativity necessarily in terms of some of the pacing, but his ability to crisply like sink into his routes, get back to the football. He had a different kind of body type for us in 2022 before we had Sam Laporta that differed definitely from a guy like Brock Wright, who was kind of your inline blocker, didn't really do much on the receiving side, and then a guy like James Mitchell, who, I don't look at James Mitchell as he's like the craziest route runner, but he has some long speed, and he's a guy that after catch, there's real ability there as well. But again, we got to see a lot more James Mitchell this past season, but definitely in a different body type. So I think for what the Lions have right now currently, that would mean that they would have Shane Zylstra, Sam Laporta, and now James Mitchell also under contract. They have their 2 rookie deals, and now you throw Shane Zylstra into the mix. I think that's a nice trio of tight ends. Definitely can add to that, definitely can add more elements to it, but he obviously fits into more so of the receiving side of things with special teams impact and move blocking ability. But there's value there. There was real value for Shane Zylstra, and I don't know that he's going to make the team. That's why the exclusive rights free agent deal makes a ton of sense, to have really no guarantees there, because, there's no guarantee that he does get a spot this year, especially if the Lions continue to add to it. Maybe they decide to bring back a guy like Brock Wright. There's only so many tight ends. If you draft somebody, it could be very difficult for him to make the squad, but he is someone that showed up in 2022, has continued to improve with the Lions in a short amount of time that we've seen him, still young, 27 years old, that absolutely deserved to be brought back for another opportunity. So to me, this was a no-brainer. Welcome back, Shane Zylstra. It's good to have you back. And for now, I'm going to leave it right there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.